TB12. Is it all just garbage? Oh no. People love making these videos. I'm not going to make a video bashing it. I'm about to make a video here telling you why you might want to actually pay attention. So, TB12, it's all just garbage. Oh, this stuff isn't real, and oh, it's all just fraudulent, and this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, and all these things like that. And it's like, okay. Here's the most important thing of any coach. Do you get results? If yes, you're a good coach. If yes, your program works. Now, I'd like to point out the statistics to you. After ACL injury, only 55% of athletes recover to their previous level. That's not all that impressive. I mean, think about that. ACLs, that means that rightfully there's a 50-50 chance you're going to recover. It's not very good. This isn't like, after you break your arm, there's a 90% chance you'll probably regain your strength. ACL injuries, those are often career-ending. This is like Achilles tendon injuries. You rupture your Achilles tendon, it may be the end of your career. You tear your ACL, very possible it's going to be the end of your career, even with a good surgeon. TB12, Tom Brady, Alex Guerrero. Listen, this man has had success with more than just Tom Brady. He has rehabbed multiple NFL players who came back and didn't get re-injured either. Go ahead and look up the statistics on whether or not people get re-injured after an ACL injury. So not only is it only 55% that actually recover to the level that they were at previously, but it's even sadder than that because most people get re-injured. ACL injuries suck. Like, I don't have a good story for you, like, oh, the secret to ACL is... No, I don't have that for you. What I do have for you, though, is someone who has been successful in not only rehabbing people back to their previous level, but then they don't get re-injured either. I don't know, that should catch your attention. If someone is doing everything wrong and yet they're getting results, I guess they're doing something right. If you tell me, well, actually I hear it all the time. People tell me that I do everything wrong. Okay, I do everything wrong, but yet I'm getting results. So I must be doing something right. Because if the cake comes out the way it was intended to come out, then you did it right. It's like the difference between being a cook and being a chef. Sometimes you have to learn how to make things up. In fact, actually, let me throw this your way. Okay, you're a great musician. You can sight read. You can sit down and just start playing, but you can only play things that you have the sheet music for, right? But this great musician over here plays by ear. He doesn't know how to sight read, but he's amazing. He's Miles fucking Davis. He's Jimi Hendrix. Apparently Dave Grohl can't read music. Do you think it hurts him? Kurt Cobain can't read music. Or couldn't read music. I guess we gotta go past tense on him. Kurt Cobain couldn't read sheet music. He doesn't know, the treble clef and the bass clef, and every good boy does fine. You know that one, right? Apparently Kurt didn't read music. Dave Grohl doesn't read music. Jimi Hendrix supposedly couldn't read music. A lot of great musicians can't read sheet music. Are they still great musicians? Jimi Hendrix did everything wrong. If you ever watch him, he would play bar chords and he would use his thumb. He'd wrap his thumb around the neck instead of just using his index finger. What the hell? Oh my God, it's all wrong. And yet it sounded amazing. Is anyone going to sit there and tell you that, Jimi Hendrix wasn't a great guitarist? Miles Davis broke the rules. Jimmy Page broke the rules. Suddenly, you start to realize that maybe being a great musician isn't about your ability to sight read sheet music. Maybe being a great musician is about your ability to play the fucking instrument. Can you produce music? And can you produce music that people like? Freddie Mercury broke the rules. Who the hell has opera in the middle of a rock song? The Beatles. I'd like to point out to people on a regular basis that a day in the life, whether or not you like the song, whether or not you like the Beatles, doesn't really matter. A day in the life changed things. If you didn't have a day in the life, you wouldn't have Bohemian Rhapsody, you wouldn't have Stairway to Heaven. It was revolutionary. They basically took a whole bunch of songs and stuck them together. A day in the life is like, it's a song, and then a different song, and then a different song, and then it comes all back around, and it's all the same song. Who can do that? Is that not exactly what's happening in Stairway to Heaven? Is that not what's happening in Bohemian Rhapsody? You broke the rules. And so, Alex Guerrero breaks the rules. And does it matter? You help athletes recover from an injury that basically half of athletes won't recover from, and yet you have a success rate that's well over 55%. And then on top of that, they don't get re-injured, despite the fact that statistically the odds of them getting re-injured are very, very high. This makes me question even my own career. I used to get paid to look at people's feet and determine whether or not they had a navicular drop. And if they did, then we knew that they were at high risk for ACL injury, and so the team didn't want to draft them. So if you have a navicular drop, you're at high risk of an ACL injury, and so we're not going to draft you. And now I sit here and I question, I wonder if those people had done a program like TB12, would that have corrected them? Because I'll tell you what, apparently I have like pes planus or something like that. It's really flat feet, and I have hindfoot valgus. And you know what I did? I kept getting, let me tell you why I did this first. I kept getting shin splints and stress fractures all the time. Anytime my mileage got up to about 60 miles a week, I would get stress fractures or shin splints. It just couldn't break that 60-mile mark. And so I started training my feet. Like genuinely, I was like, I am going to strengthen my feet. The same way you might want to strengthen your grip, I focused on my feet. And I just tried to make my feet as strong as possible. And when I did that, suddenly I went from 60 to 80, and from 80 to 100, and eventually I was doing between 100 and 120 miles of running per week, and I wasn't having shin splints or stress fractures. Now that's someone who genetically has flat feet. It's called like pes planus, or has a really fancy name. It's really flat feet, and then hindfoot valgus. Oh no, your foot doesn't land right. And this is genetic. I was offered by a doctor he could break my feet and then put them back together with plates and screws, and somehow this would fix it. Or you can just train your feet and make your feet stronger. So I questioned the fact that we were dismissing athletes over their navicular drop, and it's like, well, maybe that could have actually been corrected. Like maybe we could have done strength training for their feet and, implemented a program that actually corrected this, and then they wouldn't have had the navicular drop. I don't know. It's all hindsight, right? And, what I know at 40 is not what I knew at 20, right? So my point to you, though, is that maybe, just maybe, this individual, TB12, knows what he's talking about because he's getting results. And this is the thing that pisses me off. You will see these people making absolute statements all the time, like how to spot a bad trainer, how to spot a bad coach. Here's a list of 12 red flags. And I check every one on that damn list. That's me. I do weird things with athletes that I shouldn't be doing. Like I encourage them to eat multiple meals per day, even though that's not science-based. And that's because I don't fucking care about the science. Yes, you'll weigh the same. If you take your calories and split it up into 6 meals or 1 meal, you'll weigh the same. Okay. That tells me nothing about the psychology. If you're doing 1 meal a day, do you overeat? You're doing intermittent fasting. Do you binge whenever you do eat? So maybe taking your meals and splitting them up leads to better results in the long run because you don't get over hungry and then binge. Are we going to ignore the psychological side of these things? Training to failure. Oh, you got to train to failure, you got to train to failure, you got to train to failure. And everyone knows you have to train to failure. I mean, you just, like, duh. That's like saying water is wet. You have to train to failure. But you know what? Maybe you don't have to train failure. Maybe you could just Do easy strength, Dan John. Power to the people, Pavel. Maybe you don't have to train to failure. Maybe you could do Wendler 531. Maybe you could do any number of things where you don't train to failure and you would still make progress. Ed Cohn says that he didn't fail or miss reps in training, and yet somehow Ed Cohn ended up being the greatest powerlifter of all time. Jay Cutler says that he never trained to failure. I'm sure he did a few times, but probably not intentionally. You know, we all think we have that 11th rep in us, and we suddenly find out we don't. You know, I'm going for 12. I got to 11, and I didn't get the 11th rep. Well, I guess I trained to failure. By accident, though. The intent was to do 12, right? So Jay says that he didn't train to failure. Jay Cutler, one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time. Ed Cohn, one of the greatest powerlifters of all time. Don't miss reps in training. This is something for you to consider. And I'm only pointing this out because you have to train to failure. Well, apparently not. Apparently the greatest powerlifter of all time and one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time didn't. So, you know, TB12, oh, it's all wrong. And you're so quick to criticize it because it makes for a great headline. Like, oh, my video is going to be so popular, I'm going to make a video bashing TB12, and I'm going to bash Tom Brady. And I'm not. That's not what I'm going to do. Instead, I'm going to tell you, hey, the fact that Alex Guerrero has been extremely successful in rehabbing ACL injuries and they don't get re-injured, you might want to take a look. Now, does that mean everything he does is perfect? No. No, it doesn't. There's probably some elements of it that are unnecessary, but there are probably many elements of it that are very, very efficacious. So you may want to stop and think about this for a bit and realize that, yeah, this thing over here probably doesn't have anything to do with whether or not they recover from the ACL. Fair enough. There might be some, I don't know, would you call it junk or noise in the program? There might be some things in there that are extraneous. But the majority of it must be doing something, otherwise you wouldn't get these results. So that's my 2 cents on it. It's about results. And, you know, if someone's going to criticize Alex Guerrero, I only have one question for you. Please, you know, what is the list of athletes that you have helped, NFL athletes, that you have helped recover from an ACL injury, who returned to their previous level of play and then didn't get re-injured? If you don't have a list of success stories of how you did it, well, quite frankly, shut the fuck up. It really is that simple, you know? If you tell me you're the greatest powerlifting coach of all time, you had damn well better be able to list a bunch of names of people who have set records. You're the greatest weightlifting coach of all time. You had better have a list of athletes who have been successful. You know, I'm the greatest this of all time. Well, then I hope you won at some point at something. If you don't have a list of gold medals behind you, I'm not so sure that you're the best at it. You know? It's like if I sat here and told you how great of an athlete I am, you would like to think that I would have some gold medals. But I don't. I'm a loser. I'm not even joking. That's actually not a joke. You probably think that's sarcasm. No, I have a whole bunch of silver and bronze medals. I don't have any gold medals. That's the honest truth. How sad is that? I don't have a single gold medal. I have a whole bunch of silvers. I have a whole bunch of bronze. I have a lot of bronze. Yeah, I got enough bronze that I could probably melt it down and buy myself a gold medal. I have a ton of bronze and silver medals. I have a whole bunch of third and second place trophies too. I only won one first place trophy, and that was a team sport. That's hockey. Outside of that, everything I've done in individual sports, yeah, I don't have any golds. I don't have any firsts. Always second or third. So as far as I'm concerned, that's like first loser, right? First or second loser. I'm joking. I don't mind it. You make the podium, you're doing all right. So I don't want to actually insult anyone out there. I'm kind of being a little bit facetious here, but I'm also being serious. If you tell me that you're the greatest coach of all time, I hope you have some gold medals behind you. I hope you have some success stories behind you. And if you're going to criticize someone else, you know, Glenn Mills is a terrible coach, Harry Maher is a terrible coach, then show me how many gold medals your athletes have won. Go ahead. The ball's in your court.